Have you ever wondered when to use in and im in German? Don't worry, there are a lot of learners who stuck here, but by the end of this lesson, you will know exactly when to use each one. Hello everyone and welcome to Sprechify, where we make learning German easy peasy. My name is Francesca, I'm a native German speaker and I've been teaching German for over 7 years. In today's lesson, we'll break down the differences and look at some real-life examples. So grab a notebook if you want to follow along. Do you want to go even deeper with German prepositions? Then check out my video on bei, nach, zu and in. It's full of easy examples and tips that make them much easier to remember. But now, let's go into today's topic, in versus im. In is a preposition in German, just like in English, and it usually means in or into. We can use in, for example, in the following sentences. Ich gehe in das Kino or das Buch ist in der Tasche. Note, in is a Wechselpräposition, which means it can either go with an accusative case or with a dative case. It depends if it's a movement or it's something static. Let's see some examples side by side. For example, the word Kino. It's das Kino, so it's a neutral word. Das Kino is in the dative case is dem Kino, and in the accusative case it's das Kino again. So let's see how these work with the in. If it's static, we use the dative case. So we would use the dem Kino. For example, ich bin im Kino. But if you're going to the cinema, then you will say ich gehe in das Kino. So we will use the accusative case. In this situation, it's das Kino. Another example would be Tasche. Tasche is feminine, so it's die Tasche. Dative, it's der Tasche. Accusative, it's die Tasche. For example, when it's static, I will say, das Buch ist in der Tasche. But if it's a movement, I will put the book into the bag, then I will say, legt das Buch in die Tasche. So it's movement, and I will use the accusative case. And these are situations where contractions like im come in. Let me show you. Im isn't a brand new word. It's a contraction, like I said before. In plus dem results into the contraction im. You'll only find im with the dative cases. Which one exactly? With the masculine and the neuter dative cases. In both, you have the article dem. So the m from the dem goes to the in and the n disappears, but we're contracting them and then we have the result im. For example, you will say, ich bin im Kino. Kino, we have learned before, is neuter, das Kino. But in the dative case, it's dem. So we take the dem and we don't say, ich bin in dem Kino, or you probably won't say, ich bin in dem Kino. You will probably say, ich bin im Kino. The same goes with, das Handy ist im Auto. Again, Auto is neuter. So neuter dative case is dem, and that's why we can say im Auto. Im is not the only contraction. German loves contractions. For example, with in, you can have different contractions depending on a case. For example, the example mentioned before is im. Im, which is represented by in dem. For example, ich bin im Park. But you can also have ins, which is represented by in plus das. We have das in the accusative case for neutral words. So here the contraction is with a movement. So it's not a static thing anymore, it's a movement. For example, ich gehe ins Kino. Note, there is no combination, no contraction with die, so no in die, no in der, and no in den. So we have within just the contractions im and ins. But you have other contractions with other prepositions. Let's test it out. I'll give you a sentence and you decide if it should be in or im. Ich wohne Haus. Ich wohne im Haus. Or you could also say ich wohne in dem Haus. Why? I will tell you a little bit later. Next one. Sie geht Küche. Sie geht in die Küche. Küche is feminine and it's a movement, so we need die, in die Küche. Das Auto ist Garage. Das Auto ist in der Garage. Garage is again feminine, but this time it's static. So der. Wir treffen uns Restaurant. Im Restaurant. Wir treffen uns im Restaurant. Restaurant is neuter, das Restaurant, and it's static, so we need dative case. Er geht Garten. Er geht in den Garten. It's movement, it's masculine, we need den. Die Kinder spielen Schule. Die Kinder spielen in der Schule. Ich gehe Büro. Ich gehe ins Büro. Büro is neuter and it's a movement, so we need in plus das. And here we can do the contraction and we have ins Büro. And the last one, setzt sich Auto. Setzt sich ins Auto. Again, it's a movement, it's neuter, so we use the contraction ins. How many correct answers do you have? Let me know in the comments. Is it wrong to say in dem instead of im? Grammatically speaking, in dem and im are exactly the same thing. Im is just the contracted, smoother version of in dem. But in exams, it might be marked as a mistake. It depends. Maybe it would be better to use im instead of in dem. But in speaking, it's more natural to say im. For example, you will hear ich bin im Kino instead of ich bin in dem Kino. It sounds stiff and very formal. So I would use im. Let's see more specific when to use im. Use im when the place is general or not specified, or when the article is not emphasized. For example, ich bin im Kino, or Sie haben im Restaurant gegessen, or das Buch ist im Regal. So it doesn't matter where we are, it's not emphasized. On the other hand, you can use in dem when the place is specified or the article is emphasized. For example, in dem Kino aus dem großen Einkaufszentrum. Or in dem Supermarkt kaufe ich immer ein. Or in dem Frühling hat es sehr viel geregnet. Or more easier said, if you could replace dem with diesem or jenem, so this or that, then don't contract. This means the place is specified or the article is emphasized. You want to underline that in that restaurant you eat a lot. We are not allowed to use im in relative clauses. The rule is, if the relative clause follows the noun, then we don't contract in dem into im. For example, in dem Haus, in dem ich geboren wurde, wohnt jetzt eine andere Familie. So it stays in and dem. Keep in mind, In relative clauses, prepositions and articles are always separate. And there are some special cases where im is almost always used. For example, for months and seasons, im Oktober, im Herbst. In fixed expressions and set phrases, for example, im Allgemeinen, im Vergleich, or im Grunde genommen. With certain nouns we have im, for example, im Internet, im Ausland, im Deutschen. And when we have normalized infinitives, for example, im Schlaf, im Sitzen. A quick summary. In everyday German, use im. But if you want to be very specific and emphasize, then use in dem. So remember, in is the base, im is the shortcut for in dem, and ins is in das. Dative for location and accusative for movement. Easy peasy. Still confused about German prepositions? Drop your questions in the comments and let me know what other topics you would like me to cover next. And if this video helped you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more German learning tips. Thank you for watching and bis zum nächsten Mal bei Sprechify.